Nice, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start off this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops, the great millstone that rule well, that teach well while learning truth 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect. And I also want to say shalom to the Akwaf, the sisters that are sincere, your children, shalom. And in today's video, as you can see, it's going to be a video touching on basically, Esau, Edom being exposed, man. Everybody ultimately knowing who this man is, what was his true purpose, what he's known for. And that's for being a rapist, a robber, and a damn murderer, man. Pilgriming and taking everything in which it is that this man ultimately has in possession of today. He stolen everything, And I'm going to go to a precept, right, just proving that, because we're in those times where the Lord is revealing this man for who he really is. That's why you got a lot of these different nations ultimately coming out or the forefront, Israelites, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians exposing who this man are. You got other nations, heathen nations, they're saying who this man truly is. Everybody is realizing that this man is the devil of the earth, man, right? This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. And I'm going to start at verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, right? And we're going to look at that word perdition, right? Because this is who Esau is, and we know the man of sin is Esau, Edom, none other than the so-called white man, right? Which is the physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan, man, right? This is the word perdition. It goes into damnation, man, into which a sinful and impenitent person, right? So this is a sinful man, and we could tell by his, another good one, destruction. And that's what this man brings everywhere that he done went throughout the four corners of the earth, basically, going into other people's lands, whether it been by him, coming there and forcefully taking things, or him playing like he was friends with the people to ultimately to take their belongings and their possessions, their minerals, their resources. This man, everywhere this man have went, he have led a path of destruction behind him, man. Because that's who this man is. He's the man of destruction, the man of sin, the man of wickedness, man. And everybody's exposing this man now for who he truly is, right? So I'm going to get into this video so we can listen to what it is the man is saying. And I'm going to get a few more precepts and Lord's willing to be edifying, right? But before I start this video, I want to say fair use. 1976 Copyright Act, not getting paid for this video. This is only for educational purposes, only fair use.
Most white people in America and Europe believe about their history is not history at all. It's mythology designed to produce a specific kind of person. A person who does not feel guilty. A person who does not feel accountable. A person who does not feel responsible for ever changing anything because they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're taught that their ancestors were pioneers. Their ancestors were explorers and builders of civilization. That they brought progress and democracy and enlightenment to the world. They hear about the Renaissance. They hear about the Industrial Revolution. They hear about the Age of Discovery, and so forth and so on. And not about enslavement, not about genocide, not about the theft, not about the destruction that their people are responsible for. They're not.
All right. And you basically hear what it is the guy is saying on the video, man. He's absolutely right. That's the illusion that has been painted across America and throughout these other countries, man, that Esau is a good person, that, oh, man, they're the children of the Most High and all of these different types of madness. But no, those people are, the children of wickedness, man. Everything that they do is ultimately to destroy, to rob, to rape, to pilgrimage, to murder, to, extort, to get whatever it is in which they want by violence and force, man. That's what they're known for doing throughout all history, man. And that's ultimately because the Lord have given them the world, right? They're the ones in power right now. And that's why they're able to do these things, right? And I'm going to go into a precept just touching on that. This is Job 9:24. This is why they're able to do these things in which it is that they do, right? It says the earth, right, is given into the hand of the wicked. And who is the wicked? That's talking about Esau, Edom, man. These rich elite banking families that are in power now that are responsible for a lot of these wars and a lot of these different types of, catastrophes that are happening in the world, right? It say he covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, wherein who is he, right? We know who that is, right? Esau, Edom, right? And I'm going to go to another precept. This is Micah chapter 2, verse 1. It said, woe to them that devise iniquity, right? And work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand, right? That's Job 9:24 I just read. They're the ones that's in control of the world right now for a short period of time. Esau's in power. So that's why he's able to do these things in which it is that he does, right? And it says, and they covet fields, right? What the guy in the video is going into. They take lands, they steal stuff. They paint the faces of the judges, they whitewashed everything throughout history to make it look like they're the good guys and all of this different types of stuff, That's what Esau have done, man, And everybody is waking up to those lies, man, right? And it said, and take them by violence, right? That's what he does. If you doesn't agree with this man's philosophies or the things in which it is he wants you to subscribe under, guess what? He's going to send his military to your country to ultimately to invade you, make up a false lie to get people to believe that you're just this evil nation and ultimately to destroy your place and to take it over, man. That's what this man does, right? And it said, in houses, and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage, right? And I'm going to read verse 3. It said, therefore, thus saith the Lord, behold, against this family, right? Talking about Edom, do I devise an evil from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily. For this time is evil, right? And that's what the Lord is ultimately going to do to these Edomites, man. He's going to pay them back for all of their wickedness, for all of the things in which it is that they have done, mainly to the Lord's people, the Israelites. But, all the wickedness this devil has done throughout the earth, he's going to pay for that, And we're coming into that time period, where he's getting ready to pay for all of his wickedness, As it tells you in Revelations 13:10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword. Roughly paraphrasing, But that's what's coming upon this man. Everything that he have done, he's going to reap, Putting our people into slavery. He's going to go into slavery. Him and his people and these other heathens as well. But, Esau is going to be the main, person that we're going to be, at odds against in the kingdom, man. He's going to be our main enemy because he's the main one that's really responsible for how the earth and everything is being ran, man. That man of sin, man, So I'm going to go right here. This is, let me get back into the video. Right. And you heard what it is. The guy basically said in the video, he basically said that, they can't take responsibility for their actions. And that goes into this precept right here that I'm going to go to, right? Bear with me. Because they were made crooked, man. That's who they are, man. The Lord had put a perverse, wicked spirit on these Edomites, man, to where, they won't take accountability for their actions. They'll never admit they were wrong. They'll never do those things because these people are the wicked. They wasn't created rightly engineered like the Lord's people, the Israelites, man. These people were really created to be the wicked, man. That's why they're after 1,000 years of hardcore bondage. They're going to be eradicated, man, because these are some very vile, wicked people, man. Right? And I'm going to go to that precept. Bear with me. All right. This is Ecclesiastes, right? Chapter 7. Right? Verse 13. And I'm gonna read it in GNT. It said, think about what Yahweh had done. How can anyone straighten out what Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua has made crooked? Right? And I'm reading in the KJV. Consider the work of the Most High, for who can make that straight which he have made crooked? Right? And they're talking about Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. This man can never be, ultimately right, because that's not the spirit in which it is the Lord have put into this man. This man has a very wicked spirit within him, and that's what he's going to have ultimately until his eradication after 1,000 long drawn out years of slavery. Right. But this man is going to continue to be the same. He'll never change, man, because that's just the spirit that the Lord have given this man. Right. And that's why we're to never trust this man, because he's never going to change, especially for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians that ultimately trust in this man and believe he's your friend and think that he cares about you and all of these different types of things that you people tell yourselves. That's all a lie. Right. This is Sirach chapter 12, verse 10. Never trust thine enemy. Right. Who's our enemy? Esau. For like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Right. And we know as iron rusteth, the worse as it gets. So that's the same thing with this devil's behavior. He's going to get worse and worse as time progresses. He's going to become more draconian with his laws that he's going to pass. He's going to become more hateful. He's not going to, look at Donald Trump and what he's doing now. Those horns are going to continue to show more and more. Right. This is verse 11. Though he humble himself, right, which is what a lot of these Edomites have done. They made a lot of you Jakes believe that you're equal. You're the same. They care about you and all of these different types of things. Right. And go crouching. Right. Yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust have not been altogether wiped away. Right. Just going back into what I said earlier about you can't make this man straight because he's crooked, man. That's who he is. He was created to be wicked. And nothing is going to change that, man, So I'm going to get back into the video so we could just finish watching the rest of it. But that's Esau Edom's nature, man. That's who this guy is, right? His people, I should say, the men and the women. That's who they are. All right. Right. And you hear what he said. He's absolutely right. It never stopped. Esau still going into different people's countries. Look at what those Amalekites over there doing now in the land of Gaza, man. Just what they're doing over there in Ukraine, trying to get the resources and all of the stuff out of there. That's what Esau is known for, man. Going to different lands and different places and ultimately destroying it, man. And taking everything that it is he wants to ultimately empower and make himself more powerful, man. And that goes to the pride of this devil, man. But we know, as it says in Proverbs 16 and 18, that pride goes before destruction and a haughty spirit before a fall, man. And that's what's getting ready to come. These Edomites fall, man. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say with today's video. Just something quick through the spirit. Lord's willing to be edifying to you brothers and sisters that come across it. Till the next time, I'm going to say shalom to the elect.